Hey y'all, Stacey Lee Walker back with another episode of the Blood Type Hockey Talk. Hockey, opinions, overalls. I'm going to be talking about the history of semi-pro and pro women's hockey. And this is really just a video to kind of give context for the two leagues I will be talking about. Did I say two leagues? Yes, I did. Um, I'll start by talking about the CWHL, which was founded in 2007 after the old National Women's Hockey League, the old NWHL, stopped existing. And the league was based, there were teams in Ontario and Quebec and Canada, and that was until the Boston Blades were added in 2010. They added another team a year later, the Alberta Honey Badgers, which were basically a merger of two teams from the Western Women's Hockey League, which kind of coexisted side by side with the CWHL. The WWHL, the Western Women's Hockey League, stopped existing in 2011. It had four teams at the time. There were two in Alberta, one in Manitoba, and one in Minnesota. And the CWHL just decided to take the two teams from Alberta, merge them, and create this team that they called the Honey Badgers for one season before just dropping the moniker. This actually pissed off the Minnesota Whitecaps because the way it worked, the Clarkson Cup worked before the WWHL stopped existing, was the winners of the WWHL championship and the CWHL championship would play each other for the Clarkson Cup. And that's just kind of how it went until the WWHL went under, and this really, it pissed off the Whitecaps, who then just decided, you know what, we're just going to play exhibition games, and the other team from Manitoba, the Manitoba Maple Leafs, they decided to kind of do the same thing, and just play exhibition games. So I already covered that. So the Alberta team, which dropped the Honey Badgers name after their first season, were just kind of like Team Alberta or whatever, until 2013, the fall of 2013, when the Calgary Flames took an interest in them, moved them to Calgary, and, gave them the support that they needed and deserved. And then this Team Alberta became the Calgary Inferno, who exist today. They've won one league championship. Fast forward to 2015. Danny Ryland, a former player at Northeastern, wanted to start a CWHL team in New York, making them the second, CWHL franchise in the United States. The league said no. So in response to this, she forms her own little startup league of four teams that are all based in the United States. The four teams were the Boston Pride, the Connecticut Whale, the New York Riveters, which were the team that she wanted to bring into the Canadian Women's League, and the other team was of course, the Buffalo Beauts, my favorite team in that league, but that's neither here nor there. I said opinions. So the U.S. national team players, in 2015, all unanimously voted to join the NWHL, which is a startup league, and this was actually the first time that women would actually get paid to play hockey, which is actually pretty rad. The salaries were kind of low, but whatever. They were happy to get a paycheck from it in some capacity, and, if that's like you're going to have a second job, why not play hockey? It's fucking awesome. So the effect that it had on the Boston Blades, who had just won the Clarkson Cup, most of all the star players on the Boston Blades left for the Boston Pride, and they went on to win the Isabel Cup, the newly created Isabel Cup, the NWHL championship, by defeating the Buffalo Beauts in that championship game. The Boston Blades were not really affected. The effect was pretty negative, to say the least. And the Blades became the whipping girls of the Canadian Women's Hockey League. This is a league that now featured teams from Calgary, Toronto, Brampton, Ontario, and Montreal. The team names, and I'll get into that in a bit, rattle off the team names at the end, I guess. The leagues definitely took a bit of... 2017 was another year where the leagues kind of had a little bit of a turning point. The New Jersey Devils took an interest in the New York Riveters and moved them to Newark and named them the Metropolitan Riveters. So that happened. Still the same four teams. There was actually a salary cut in 2016 in the NWHL where they had to cut their salaries in half because the revenues weren't where they needed to be. But also in 2017, the CWHL made an unheard of move. They added 2 teams from China. They added a team called Kunlun Red Star and another team called the Bonka Rays. And these 2 teams were made up of Chinese national team players because the next Winter Olympics, will be in Beijing in 2022. Yeah, 2022. So this is part of their preparation. They took the Chinese national team players, threw in some North American players, and created 2 teams. So that happened last year, and I guess it was a success. They ended up merging the 2 teams. I guess they didn't really merge the 2 teams. They merged the names of the 2 teams. The Bonka Rays ceased operations, and Kunlun Red Star became a team called, I'm going to get this wrong, Shenzhen KRS Bonka Rays. So Shenzhen Kunlun Red Star KRS Bonka Rays. So really just a merging of these 2 teams. If you look at the 2 sets of uniforms from the 2 teams, it really looks like a combination. It's kind of the Kunlun Red Star colors, the Bonka Rays logo. It's an interesting combo, and some of the girls that were on the Bonka Rays are actually playing for this Shenzhen KRS Bonka Rays team. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Whitecaps come back into the picture as the first expansion team of the NWHL, the new NWHL, and the one that actually exists and, pays its players and all that good stuff. So, also another move that appeals to me because it kind of affects me, it's right in my backyard. The Boston Blades just moved to Worcester, Massachusetts, and now play their home games at a rink where I'm playing games on a weekly basis. So that's pretty cool. And it also, I don't know, this whole 2 leagues thing, it's definitely a hot button, kind of a contentious issue. And, it kind of reminds me, obviously I wasn't alive back then, but during the 70s when the World Hockey Association, the WHA, was trying to compete with the NHL. Obviously, they failed. The WHA took in 4 teams from the NHL. I think it was 4 teams, something like that. Among them, Hartford, the New England Whalers, who became the Hartford Whalers, RIP. I don't remember who else. Edmonton Oilers were definitely one of them. The Oilers, the dynasty of the 80s that was created out of the WHA, but I'm not talking about men's hockey. I'm sorry. That was a bit of a sidetrack moment. Anywho, so yeah, now these 2 leagues that exist separately boast some of the best players in the world. And, there's 5 teams in the NWHL, and in the CWHL I'm trying to think, so 6 teams, I want to say. Yeah, I think that's right. There's the 2 in China, there's the 1 in China, the 1 in the U.S., the 2 in Ontario. Yeah, there's 6 teams in the league. There were 7 last year, and they just contracted Bonka. So yeah, now there's a 6-team league and there's a 5-team league that are existing separately. They're different business models, so merging them is definitely a hot button issue. I think moving to Worcester actually was a good move for the Blades organization because if the leagues were to merge, it kind of puts them in separate markets, so it reduces the possibility of them getting contracted. So I think that's a good move. This video is going on a little too long, but I just wanted to lay that groundwork, and I will be making another video shortly about the preseason game that I just watched. So, hope this video wasn't too dull and too boring. I just felt like it needed to be made. So, yeah, have a good one. I'll talk to you guys in a bit. Bye.